Hi, everyone. This is Mike Rooth, the artist of Dodge, and you're listening to True North Country Comics Podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics Podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Mike Rooth about his comic book series Dodge, his plans for Toronto Comicon 2024, and much more. This podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel. Toronto Comicon is a spectacular 3-day sci-fi, horror, anime, gaming, and comic book event in Canada that attracts thousands of people to come to the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. Based in Ontario, Mike Rooth is a Canadian freelance art mercenary working professionally since the mid-1990s. He's created cover art for titles such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for IDW, Die, and Little Bird for Image Comics, Animosity, Dark Arc, Knights Temporal for Aftershock Comics, Red Sonja, Conan for Dynamite Dark Horse, Super Duck for Archie Comics, and numerous other small press and independent comic publishers. Mike is currently illustrating the comic series Dodge. Dodge is described as a high-adrenaline, supernatural sci-fi thriller with loads of high-stakes action and packed with story in each issue. From the steamy jungles of Vietnam to the frozen wilderness of Siberia, para-human Green Beret take on a pack of Soviet werewolves in a race to secure a doomsday weapon before it can be used to kill millions. So without further ado, here's my chat with Mike Rooth about his comic book series Dodge, his plans for Comic-Con 2024, and much more. So Mike Rooth, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
I appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I'd like to know, what are you reading today? What's on your bedside reading table?
I literally just read Conan the Barbarian issue 7. I'm about a month late. I think the new issue comes out next week or this coming week. And it's the Jim Zub series with I think Butch did the artwork on this one, on the interiors, and it's got a beautiful Alex Horley cover. And I'll be honest, I'm pretty much only reading Conan stuff these days. And that's not true. I just actually read the first issue of Thundercats, which I get most of my exposure to new comics by reading the blank editions that I end up doing sketches on. That's kind of where I get my new comics in that format these days. But yeah, those two are the ones that stick out right now. Other than that, I've been reading my good friend Danny Harrell down in Alabama. I've been reading his comic called Rebel Girls, which is something being published by Keen Spot, and it's a fantastic book. So a friend of the show, probably Becca, she actually has done a cover, I think, and is doing some other stuff with Danny, some of the other projects of his coming up, I think. So it's been really cool to work with him and to read his book. It's just fantastic. It's his first book, and it's like he hit a home run the first time. So
that's amazing. That's
very cool.
Stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that new Conan series with Jim Zub, that's a sort of I wouldn't say a known publisher. It seems if you were to talk about some of the books that you're reading, the publishers seem to be like off the beaten path. Would that be true to say?
Yeah, that's true to say, because the truth is I don't get to my local comic shop as often as I'd like. I sadly only get to them if I'm doing, events or signings, which I love to do, of course. But my own shop is, they changed location like a couple years ago, and it's just been really difficult to get out there. So I don't go as often as I like. But my buddy works there, and I sometimes get to a couple, get my new Conan every month anyway, that way. And but mostly, Titan Publishing, they've done some cool things. They have Doctor Who and a few other cool properties that. But I've loved what they've done with Conan, but that's largely because they have such an amazing creators. I mean, you really can't get better than Jim Zub when it comes to telling the Conan story. I mean, it's just literally in every fiber of his being. And to have Robert De La Torre as the main artist, on the book, I think he's off this current arc, but his stuff is just so incredible. And to me, it's such a gift and such a rewind button to the old days of John Buscema drawing those books. And it just feels like it. And it just has that same power, the unbelievable bravery with the use of inks, and just the absolutely fearless, laying down of huge swaths of black ink and telling the whole story with a brush. just unbelievable work. So it's hooked me like it hooked me when I was like a younger man. And yeah, I look forward to it every month. I actually been trying so hard the last 6 months or so to get work with Titan, to get a little piece of that Conan action, because I love the few opportunities I've had to do Conan. But that was, I think I've told you before, that was always the dream. When
Hmm.
someone asked me once, what's the dream? It was always, let's let's I want to get into a Conan book. So I'm trying.
Sure. Sometimes they say if you put it out in the universe, it'll happen.
Well,
So
this is it, right? And
that's it.
I've got great people in my life, and I've made great connections in this business. And I definitely, I don't ask for a lot of favors, but yeah, anyone who can work the magic spells behind the scenes and make that happen for me, it would be fantastic.
Well,
I'd be
fingers
forever in your
crossed.
debt.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I'll
Well,
heap gold. I'll heap gold upon your altars, kind of thing. So yeah.
okay. Well, let's hope for the future. How about that? Yeah. So we're talking here today because you're going to be tabling at Toronto Comicon.
Yes.
And what I wanted to know from you is what is it about conventions that you like the most?
I think I like the camaraderie. Obviously, I love the connection with the people. I love the regular host of characters that you only see at certain shows, and I know I'm always going to see them at certain shows. It's very solitary work that I do. I do find that just getting out and doing these events, once a month or once every couple months. I'm not doing as many as I used to. It just gets me reminds me that there's people out there that like my stuff, and people out there that want to talk about comics, and other artists, especially. Connecting with so much great young talent out there that's coming up and doing some really amazing, innovative stuff. So yeah, it's
Cool.
great. It's exciting.
That's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's all good. Speaking of conventions or festivals, do you remember any past experiences that stand out? Was it like meeting someone you really admired, something like that?
Oh, there's so many, to be honest with you. I kind of, when I first got into doing Comic Cons in, like, 2009, 2010, I really got, that kind of snake venom feeling in my blood. And I did as many shows as I could do. I'm lucky enough to have had a lot of amazing experiences. I think connecting with the artists that I love, love the most, and to connect with them and find them that they're real people. Like, I have standout moments of meeting, Mike Grell, and watching him draw me an Oliver Queen head
Hmm.
sketch, and just straight with pen, and actually talking shop, illustrator to illustrator, with him. I think for me that really stands out as a powerful one. Same thing with Simon Bisley, meeting him, and then terrorizing the city of Montreal and burning it down like King Kong and Godzilla. With only my wife as the brains of the operation to help save us from total catastrophe. I mean, that's a memory that I'll cherish forever, because I was a Simon Bisley nut as a
Ah,
youngster, or as
yep,
a young high school guy anyway. And
sure.
yeah, meeting him and just finding out he's cool and he's a big Motorhead fan like me, and it
Wow.
was just a really neat experience. And yeah, and then just been some other cool celebrity people that I've met, like from films, and like I've had some strange, funny stories with Billy Boyd. We've encountered each other at a few shows, and I've done artwork for shows that connected with him. It's been hilarious. We've had some really, like, what I can only call adventures that you'd have with a Hobbit, that have happened at shows. So
Nice.
yeah, I've been very lucky. I've been very those moments always feel like special, because they only happen at Comic Cons,
Right.
and they always kind of leave you a little bit dazzled, and feeling very blessed for sure. So.
Yeah, great moments, that's for sure. As I said, you'll be tabling at the show. I'm wondering if you have anything that you'll be showcasing, anything on your table that you want to call attention to.
Yeah, so we're gonna have in hand. I'm gonna have my copies of my own Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles issue 147. It's my first time doing a variant cover under my own label. Sort of some of the frustrations of the industry of building a little bit, and I wanted to do something new. So I've actually, the last few months, have been hammering out covers when opportunities have arisen where I can find a way to fund the covers myself, or to make these retailer exclusive happen, but not having to go through a store, but instead just working directly with the publishers myself and going that route. And it's been, it's risky and it's challenging, but I'm really excited to have those on my table at the Toronto Comicon in March. I've actually got 3 books coming out in April, so it's kind of a shame that I won't have them, for March, but I'll definitely have them for the next time I'm in Toronto, and I'll have them for all the shows I'm doing this year from Toronto Comicon on. But I would say that TMNT 147 is probably the biggest deal for me, because know it's the 40th anniversary of the Turtles this year.
Mm-hmm.
So any Turtle stuff is good stuff to have. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I think there's a big resurgence in the Turtles. There was an animated movie that showed up, and as you said,
Yeah.
it's the anniversary, so I think there's even more attention.
Oh, there is.
Yeah,
And, the Turtles have always been huge for me. One of the big things I'm excited about this year was I not only have I had a chance to do covers and things for Turtles, but I also got to work on the Redux edition of the TMNT and Other Strangeness role-playing game that came out in the 80s that I played in the 80s. And I played a mutant badger character that I rolled up. You could roll up random animal characters and get different skills. And, it was kind of video game RPGs, really. It was all dice and pencil stuff. I lived in that world, so the Turtles were huge, and I got to actually work on the Redux edition of that. They had a massive Kickstarter this year, Palladium Games, and they're redoing it with all new color artwork and things like this, and I got to contribute a few pieces, so it was a really big thrill for me. So it's definitely a Turtle Power year on this 40th anniversary, so
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned a few books coming out in April. Are there any other projects that you have on the go that people should look forward to?
Yeah, you know what? We just wrapped up Dodge, the fourth Kickstarter. I mean, we had the Kickstarter back in the summertime, but it's been a bit of a long road to get that final issue hammered out. But it's at the printers. We're gonna have them in hand next week. I've actually already got the black and white editions in hand, and they are going to be awesome to get those out to all the amazing Dodge supporters we've had. After that, I have a couple of comic projects in mind that I want to do, but I'm still sort of looking to find the edges of those and seeing how big or how crazy I want to go with them. But I definitely want to tell some more stories, but my main focus is going to be doing my own stuff. Like I want to write something and draw it. I think that's the way forward for me. The experience of working on Dodge has been amazing, and I've learned a lot about storytelling, and I think that's the path forward, as well as doing covers, of course. I want to keep doing covers, and provided this experiment of doing my own covers pays off and works out well, then I should have some more cool covers coming this summer and stuff too. Different titles, image titles. I just did one for one of our favorite local retailers, Gotham Collectibles. I won't say what it is. I just got to work on a pretty major title, doing a variant for that store.
Nice.
So I'm not sure if I'll have those in hand for Toronto Comicon, but I hope so. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, with all the artwork that you're doing and all the projects, I'm wondering, what is your go-to tool that you're using to create art these days?
Honestly, it's kind of whatever's closest at hand. I'm in a lot of developmental stage stuff right now for the things I want to do. So short of doing my kind of daily auctions where I'm doing pencil sketches or ink sketches, I just kind of grab whatever's at hand and I'm just hammering down ideas and trying to, make things take shapes and designing sword hilts and designing helmets and things like that for something I want to work on. And so really it's just, pencil crayons, it's pen and ink, it's whatever I can get my mitts on and make some marks on the page with right now.
I was talking to one creator, and I forget right now, but they actually used coffee as a tool to create art. Has that ever struck your mind?
Oh yeah, I've used all manner of strange liquids in my work. Read into that what you wish, listeners. But no, I've used tea. I've used tea. A friend of mine uses actual squid ink, which is interesting to use. It's kind of water reactive in some ways. It's got a kind of terrible odor until you kind of dry out the page, but it's interesting to work with. I know Marco Rudy actually works with tea sometimes, does some fantastic stuff, tea and watercolor. That's interesting though. Getting back familiar with the brush again, getting the brush back in hand. I've had to do a lot of technical stuff lately in some of the projects I've worked on, and the brush isn't the best tool for that always. So I've been using a little more tech pens and getting a little more familiar with those, but I really want to get back to the brush. I feel like the brush is always the ultimate one for me, and I can do everything with the brush that I can do with anything else.
Nice. Good to hear. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's imagine now that you're at your table at Toronto Comicon. Someone comes up to your table and they say to you, "Hey, I'm going to make my first comic book." What one piece of advice would you give to this person?
I would say make it and then talk about it. I would say get it done and get it on the page, get it on the pages, get the thing hammered out, and then talk about it. I think I have learned this the hard way myself. Sometimes, a great creative idea, a great project like a comic book is like lightning in a bottle. And I think really sometimes you can spill your beans before you get a chance to really show what you can do. I made this mistake years ago with a comic that I was really passionate about that my wife and I were working on. And it's still never seen the light of day because I sort of feel like I got whatever I had to get out of the project, during the process of not making it. Essentially, it's still sitting there as something that I want to do. But for the young creator wanting to make comics, the advice is to make comics. I would say, I've heard Ed Brisson give this advice as well: make small comics, make short comics, but finish them. Finish them and finish them with enough speed and confidence that you can, look forward to the day very soon where you can look back at them and criticize them and know that you're doing better work because you've kept on making comics. I think the problem is people get tied up into these massive projects that end up taking years out of their life and nothing gets done because there's a lot of work that goes into it. So make the projects more manageable and bite-sized. The anthologies are certainly a great way to go. Make 8-page stories, 5-page stories, 10-page stories, and take them to places where anthologies are happening, or get them out. Make ash cans, because the only way to break into comics is to make comics. There's no magic door. There's no magic pills to take. It's just you have to make the comics. It can take a lot of creators a long time to figure that part out. It's taken me a long time to figure it out. That's for sure. I'm not real fast on drawn pages. That's one thing I will openly admit. But when you start to feel that magic of making a comic, it does take over. So I would say, yeah, young creators out there, make them, but make them manageable.
That's good advice to have. So with all the stuff you have going on, like today and tomorrow, I'm wondering, where do you recommend people go online to find out about your current and your future projects?
Well, I've been negligent in getting my long-awaited newsletter that I've wanted to start doing. I haven't been posting a whole lot online lately, unfortunately. It's just been that kind of season. But probably Instagram at Uncouth Rooth is probably still the best way to get my daily stuff. My website is still MikeRooth.com, where you can see my stuff, and that also links to my shop, which is my MikeRooth.BigCartel shop, where I have different things for sale. But most of the news and new projects are going to happen through my Facebook page, which is just my personal page under Mike Rooth. It's not an art page or anything; it's just my personal page. And then most of it's going to be Instagram though. And I'm not posting as much as I would like to these days, just because most of the stuff I'm working on I can't show off. So that's just been the way it is, unfortunately, right now.
Sure. Well, Mike, those are all the questions I have for you. But I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
I love that you set these interviews up and make them available for us to say our piece and connect with our people out there. It's like I said, the shows are really the only way that I can kind of do it in person. And I always enjoy chatting with you, and I always feel like it's a chance to, it's a proof of life for me. I get to let everyone know that I'm still here, I'm still kicking, and I don't actually leave the cave too often. So, but no, I think we covered it all. I don't really have much to say except to watch for what's coming. I've got some exciting stuff coming soon.
Thanks to Mike for the chat. You can discover more about Mike on Instagram at Uncouth Rooth and online at MikeRooth.com. And thanks to you for listening to the True North Country Comics podcast. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to and like this podcast on Apple Podcasts. And don't forget to check out the TrueNorthCountryComics.com website. True North Country Comics is on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to that video channel and hit the notification button. Remember, you can follow along at True North Country Comics on most social media sites. And you can send any and all feedback to John at TrueNorthCountryComics.com. Thanks for listening, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2024.